I'm live. I hope that I can be heard and seen. I am the only one here. Hopefully, people will come in. So I'm going to give it a few minutes. And if not, the show must go on. We're going to just talk and chat. I have an agenda in front of me. And yeah, let's wait just a few seconds. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Hello. I guess there's one person here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. This is my first live. Can I be heard and seen? Somebody please, whoever that one person is, just tell me if I can be heard and seen. Because this is my first time doing this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Um, So there has been a lot going on this past week in Mali. And one thing that I wanted to do this week was focus on healing. And it has been extremely difficult to focus on healing processes. Wow, so many world events are happening, especially if you're physically in a place where it is taking place. So, I want to first take the time and say thank you to everybody who called me. Hi, can you hear me and see me? Okay, please let me know. But I just want to take the time to thank everybody who called me under all of what's been going on, who's been very supportive of me. It has been a lot going on. So I do have like some notes. So if you see me looking down, I want to make sure that I am kind of in order. I am going to first give a little update on what's been going on in Bamako over the last week. Then I want to jump into some talking about healing practices and dealing with grief, and share, I guess, some things that I've kind of been through. Many people have been wondering, like, about my past stories that I wanted to tell. Well, tonight might be the night. You might get a little bit of some of what has occurred to bring me to the place that I'm at right now. So I do kind of want to give some insights and not have people on the cliffhanger so much longer. But there are certain things that I am going to choose to not dive so deep into. But generally speaking, I do want to address certain things because it has a lot to do with my healing processes and the grief that I've experienced over the last few years. Um, I'm also going to talk about like what I'm doing currently to heal. And hopefully, if there are people left in the chat, I will leave room for some questions. But feel free to ask me questions as we go along in the chat. If you need clarification on anything, let me know. Just put it in the chat, and I will do my best to answer what I can. So let's get started with the update about what's happening in Bamako. As the world knows, we experienced a attack recently. Hi. We recently received an attack here in Bamako and also in other parts of Mali. Luckily, where I live, there was no direct hit or no direct, it kind of didn't affect us as much in the area in which I live in. However, I did hear one of the explosions. I believe there were two in Bamako or right outside of Bamako in an area that's close to the airport. I was able to hear one of them about 5:20 in the morning. Um, at that time, I didn't know what exactly I was hearing and what I was experiencing. I didn't hear anything else. So I went back to sleep. And come to find out, when I woke up, there was like a whole thing that took place that day. Later on in the day, I did get out. Um, I noticed that most of the businesses were open, but they were definitely using more security measures. Most times the shutters were down, and if you were coming in, they'll let it up for you to come in and do your services and things of that sort. But generally speaking, people were still kind of living life and doing what they needed to do. Now, moving forward, that was on Sunday. Monday was fine. Tuesday, which was yesterday, um, there between Sunday when it happened and Tuesday and just even today, there's just been a lot of propaganda going on. A lot of people, there's like a lot of people downplaying what's happening, but then there's a lot of people over exaggerating what's happening too. And there's not really like a good balance in information going around. So, unfortunately, there was a situation where um, we experienced a school lockdown, and there was a choice that was made to evacuate students. And that came because a series of events happened in front of a different school in a different part of town. And then word started to spread that it was something that it wasn't. And so there was a lot of confusion yesterday. That was one event. And then apparently there was a second event that took place at a market where a lady yelled thief, and people thought it was a terrorist attack, and that caused confusion. And all of those things happened in one day. So there was like a lot of talks about what was happening in the city. And I personally believe my school handled it well. We were very much prepared with our lockdown measures and getting students out in a timely fashion to make sure everybody was safe. Um, and that's just what it was. Was it scary? Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I was scared. The students were scared, but I think wholeheartedly, I've not been at a school where I feel like the group of people that I work with, that no one could have handled it better. These people are amazing, and I don't say that about a lot of people. I really don't say that about a lot of people. Thank you. I'm very glad I'm safe too. It was a scary situation. I'm sure I had my family on a million, like as I'm like texting them like, hey, I'm scared. No, I didn't say I was scared, but I was just like trying to keep them informed and trying to keep them abreast of the situation as I got information. And unfortunately, a lot of the information that was being disseminated at the time while we were experiencing it was wrong and incorrect and inaccurate information. So that is my update on what's happening in Mali and Bamako. Not to get too political, not to get into all of the who does what and all that stuff, because I am a guest in this country and I refuse to put myself in a position to not feel safe. So let's go on to healing in a very, very chaotic and unstable world. This week, and I know my family is in the chat, I'm definitely going to talk about something that hits home for us a lot, because this week is the anniversary of my brother's passing. My brother passed away in 2020, and honestly, that is something that probably changed the trajectory of my life more than I even realized. and has affected me greatly for years. I'm not going to cry on camera today, by the way. So you're not going to get me. You're not going to get me today. But this is before this week. I told you guys before in one of my videos, I'm in this group and we have like a series of like weeks where we focus on certain things. And this week we were supposed to focus on healing. And I was like, ooh, I can't wait. Like, I really want to make sure that I am focused on, having some spa days and, I'm supposed to get my nails done this weekend, my hair done, all the things, and really take some time to myself. And I wanted to also focus on remembering my brother. And I had it all planned out. I was like, I'm going to give me some popcorn. I'm going to go watch a movie. So put in the chat, what's the name of that movie? The Never Ending Story. I almost forgot. But I was going to watch The Never Ending Story. And it's because my brother's name is Atreyu, which there's the famous character, Atreyu, who's in the movie. And I really just wanted to relax and just chill and reflect and have like this whole healing process, right? And little did I know I'm going to be healing from other layers of trauma of things that are happening this week that I can just add to the list. So this week, I'm still going to do these things if I have the power to do it, to remember my brother and deal with the grief that I've experienced of losing him over the years. And I'm sure the next part of what I'm going to talk about is going to get you to understand a little bit better what that looked like and how I reacted in certain situations and how it has affected me and how I'm currently healing from all of this. But dealing with grief is such a hard thing to do. And it shows up in so many different ways. For me, it has shown up in my skin. It has shown up in my weight. It has shown up in my levels of anxiety. It has shown up in my levels of tolerance for other people. It has shown up in so many different ways. And now within the last year, I've made an effort to get out of my own way and really start to heal some of those things. My mom says she's going to see him tomorrow. Please, please, please put down some flowers for me if you can. But yeah, so let's start. Let's start from not the beginning, because I had already experienced some trauma. I think in my long form video, my walking video that I did, I kind of talked about certain things that happened to me as an educator in particular and how my traumas have mostly come from my adulthood. But I just want to take it back a couple of years. So 2019. I'm going to take it a little bit further back first, actually. My very first year teaching, I remember it's like 2012. I did some teaching in 2011, but my very first like real year teaching was 2011. And I was at a particular school. I'll have to share that long story another time about the trauma that occurred to me there. But from there, I wanted so badly to go abroad. I heard about people going abroad. My oldest brother had been abroad and teaching in China. And I knew that was something that I wanted to do eventually. And I felt like that was the year. Like, let me go ahead and do the things that I need to do to leave this situation, because my first year teaching, I felt like it was too toxic. And I heard such great things, both financially, and just social emotional wise when it comes to educating in other countries, that I wanted to experience that and not totally give up on education as a whole. So unfortunately, I got so much pushback for wanting to go abroad. At the time, I had gotten an offer in Korea, in South Korea. And I remember having discussions with my mom, and my mom was having discussions with other family members, including one of my cousins. And everybody was like, so you gonna leave your kids? You gonna leave your kids? That you're a bad mom type of energy. And it made me feel so bad that I was like, you know what? Maybe they're right. Now is not the time. I had little kids. My plan was like, let me just get over there for a year, see what it's like, see if I like it, and then I'll bring my kids with me. And unfortunately, I I just listened and I didn't want to be a bad mom. So I was like, you know what? Let me not go overseas yet. So 7 good years later, and many of schools in between, I finally got to the point back in 2019 that I wanted to go abroad again. And I was like, you know what? I've experienced work here. I don't want to work here anymore. I still know that there are opportunities abroad. Let me take my chances and go abroad now. And I'm taking my kids with me. That's 2019. This is when I had the opportunity to go to either Saudi Arabia or go to the UAE. And I decided, I'm specifically talking about work, mom. She's like, you went to Senegal first. No, not yet. I specifically am talking about work. So my first options internationally were between a school in the UAE and a school in Saudi Arabia. And quite frankly, the biggest lesson I learned was money is not the end all be all, or shouldn't be the end all be all in your pickings and choosing, because I got offered way more money in Saudi Arabia. So I chose Saudi Arabia over the UAE. I also chose Saudi Arabia because I didn't have to pay for any housing, utilities, or anything. In the UAE, the package looked a lot different. I would have needed a car to get around, and also I would have needed to pay utilities. So I personally decided my best bet was to go with Saudi Arabia so that I can earn the most money. So in 2019, I went to Saudi Arabia. Now, the deal with Saudi was, in order for me to go there and have my kids with me, I could not sponsor my kids. The school stated to me that they would sponsor my kids. So basically, what that looks like is, in Saudi Arabia and many Middle Eastern countries, a woman cannot sponsor their own children. They have to have the father do it. And because the father was not there, the closest thing to the father to do it is the school. And it's usually a male at the school who has to sponsor the kids. I did not know that at the time. I was just told the school is going to sponsor your kids. I was also told you have to enter into the country first. And then after you enter the country, your kids can come to Saudi Arabia with you on a visit visa, which will later turn into a normal Iqama or a normal visa where they can live there and go to school there. So that was the setup. I literally went to Saudi Arabia. Okay. I was told when I got there, oh, it's only going to take 2 weeks for your kids to get here, 3 weeks max, or I think it was like 2 months max, but as little as 2 weeks. In order for you to get the kids there, you have to have your Iqama. The school didn't give me my Iqama. My Iqama is my like work visa. The school didn't give me my IQAMA for 3 months. Okay, so now I'm having to make arrangements, having to put my kids in certain places. I thought it was only going to be 2 weeks. I'm having to send money home. Not to mention, the first month, nobody was paid. Nobody got their first pay. Then, month 2, I'm the person who vouches for everybody to say, I can't pay my bills and refused to work just so everybody else got paid. Nobody else defended me. They didn't support me, nothing. But when everybody got their money, everybody was like, okay, thank you. Now the school hates me because I spoke out against a lack of pay. And I also was speaking out against them lying about the amount of time it was going to take for my kids to get here. So then later on, it took a total of 5 months for them to really do the paperwork and everything that needed to be done for me to get my kids ready and prepared to come. Okay. So then I go back home, I grab my kids, I bring them. When we get there, they start switching up more. Oh, your kids can't come to this school because they're not on the right visa. They can't participate. So this is how I started homeschooling my kids. 2 months into my kids being there, we started hearing rumbling about everything that was going on in the world during that time when it comes to that big virus, right? And I'm thinking to myself, what do I do? I have one daughter who has some type of like allergies and sickness, and I don't know what this thing is going to do. I'm having to basically figure out what's best for me and my family. And I don't want to go through the entire story, but that school put me through hell. And it was a nightmare to get out of that country in the middle of the night. We went through 2 days, had to go to the Saudi prison twice in that amount of time to get out of that country. The reason I don't want to really tell that story is a couple of things, but really the book don't come at some given point. So I don't want to give it all out. But essentially, we had to leave and get out of that country. That was the start of my international experience. After I left, I went back home. I had already started my educational consulting business. I started doing some work in Florida. And when I started my educational consulting business, it was a hard task to start to put this thing together and to, create buy-in. And because selling education to people is not a sexy business to be in. It really isn't. People don't care. Like the people that care, they're probably not necessarily looking for somebody that looks like me, which is a whole nother topic. But I remember my brother saying something to me, my oldest brother. He said, people are with you when you start winning. So you got to start winning and then they will come. And I didn't understand that because I was like, how am I win without the people? Why aren't they coming? Because they need this. He was like, you got to win. So I ended up leaving and I went to Sierra Leone. There was a series of events that took place of me going to Liberia first. And then from Liberia, I went to Sierra Leone. And I ended up working with a nonprofit organization that was focused on sports and educational enrichment. And I basically created a 5-year plan for this organization that they still use to this day to reconstruct how they run their programs. And I'm very proud of myself for that. Another series of events that brought me away from that place. But I love them so dearly. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity that I had to work with those kids, to work with the people in Sierra Leone. and to allow my kids to see a place that we ended up and live in a place that we ended up actually being from genetically. So, but I experienced a lot of grief in leaving that place because a lot of it felt like failure at the time. I know now that I actually didn't fail, but it felt like failure to leave an unfinished product because I wanted to see the product through. But now I know that that wasn't my job. That wasn't my duty. My duty was to get it started, create a foundation, and then go on to the next thing. So from there, from Sierra Leone, I went back home for a bit, and then I went to Mozambique. Mozambique was wild because this was a situation where I got hired in, I want to say like December, because that's the hiring season for teachers. Between October and like January, February is the hiring season for international schools. So I got hired around December. And usually you go through your process. By March, you should know, all your paperwork should be done, all that stuff. And then by June and July, you should be preparing to go to your next destination. So I will not forget this date. They told me and all of the rest of the new hires that we would be in Maputo in July, the 26th of July. So my house that I was renting, the lease wasn't over until October. So I felt like, let me get out of this lease and save a couple of dollars since I'm leaving in July anyway. Let me just go ahead and let my house go June 1st. Let my car go June 1st. And I had a Jeep Wrangler, baby, brand new, spanking new. I miss my Jeep so bad. I was so upset. I'm still upset to this day that I had to let my car and my house go because I love that house and I love that car. Had to let it go. So that was in June. Let my car go. A series of events happened. July 26th pop up. We're still where we are. Now I have a problem. Many people start falling off who got hired at this job. They said they're not coming because by the time we get to, I want to say August, when school starts, we're all still in the States or scattered around the world. There were people stuck in China, people stuck in Saudi Arabia, could not go nowhere. Okay. Granted, they allowed certain people who don't look like me, color-wise or gender-wise, go to places like South Africa and then enter into Maputo. They treated people different. And I don't like that mainly because you're showing your hand. You're allowing people to come in illegally into the country on a visit visa instead of a work visa. So you're doing shady stuff. But people who desperately need that opportunity, because I was going with one of my children at that point, that was not available to us. So you left me homeless because I got rid of my house, carless, I got rid of my car. You told me that my daughter, who was supposed to be enrolled in the school now, can't be enrolled into the school because they only do live. However, teachers who are abroad who have not made it to the country have to be up all different hours of the night teaching all day. That was high school and middle school principal who decided that. There was a different principal for elementary school. And they got to do asynchronous, I think it is called asynchronous learning. But we had to physically be on we had to physically be there, be present. And that caused an issue because now I have to re-enroll my daughter in school in Florida. So I'm up 2 o'clock in the morning starting class, 1:30 in the morning starting classes. And by the time I get out of school, I'm supposed to be going to sleep, but I gotta stay up, take my other daughter to school, or pick her up from school. However it went, it was just messed up, poor planning, poor decision making all around. We did that up until I want to say September. Then I don't remember which hurricane it was, but I remember saying to my principal, hey, I live in Florida. There is a bad hurricane coming. And apparently it was the deadliest in Florida's history up until that point. I told her, I was like, hey, I need like a day of planning because I don't have a car anymore to make sure that I have everything that I need, supplies, everything, whatever, to make sure that we are prepared for this hurricane coming. Or what you could do is get me and my daughter out of here because our flight was like in a few days. Get us out of Florida, out of the pathway early, and then we'll catch our next flight to go to Maputo. The HR said no. They allowed me to go through the hurricane. Then, I kid you not, I took a screenshot of this. I have it to this day. My principal, while we're going through the deadliest hurricane in Florida's history at that time, up until that time, while we're going through that, my principal tells me through a message, why weren't you in class today? That is the ask and the expectation, yada, yada, yada. I said, you know what? I've dealt with a lot. We are pressing at the end of September. I am homeless because of this job. I am carless because of this job. I'm losing sleep because of this job. My daughter is missing her education because of this job. I called the director of the school and I said, fix this before I fix her. I was going to go off at that point. I said, how dare you? I told them ahead of time that there was a hurricane coming. I begged for them to get us out before the hurricane came. They did not do that. And then she expected me to be online, not asking, are you okay? Are you safe? Are you alive? None of that. Just expecting me to teach. Girl, we don't have no electricity during a hurricane. We don't have no internet during a hurricane. How dare you? So, because I had nowhere else to go, a few days later, October 4th, we finally arrived to Maputo. October 4th was the start of the October break. So, we're at October break. I'm in a new country. I don't speak the language. I don't have a car, and everybody's on vacation. I got picked up at the airport, dropped off at my apartment. The only food available in the apartment was from the summertime, which was moldy. I don't know where I am. I don't know how to get nowhere, nothing. Side note, this is what these schools do, and then they gaslight you to make you think that you're the problem. I just want to put that out there, okay? So y'all get the exclusive story right now out of many that I've had. But moldy food from the summertime, we're in October, in the fall now, because they prepared the food in the refrigerator as if we were going to be there in July. It's October. Okay. So, and stop me if y'all have any questions. I'm looking at the chat. Y'all could just, but anyway. So yeah. So that is what happened. I'm getting there. I don't have a car. I can't get around. I don't speak the language, nothing. So me and my daughter is just like stuck in the house, essentially. We can't order food, nothing. Nobody's really helping us. School comes back in. I've never seen the school. I have no clue where the school is. I don't know which direction to walk in if I had to walk. I'm being expected to go to work on that next Monday. Never seen the school. No one offers me a ride. By the grace of God, somebody took me to work. But my principal was so careless, it was ridiculous. Fast forward, we're in the year. I'm doing stuff. We're having a good old time. Actually, I'm not having a good time at that time. My daughter goes to Week Without Walls. Week Without Walls is basically like camping and other type of community building activities, blah, blah, blah. My daughter falls off of a banister or something. She falls off of a little cliff. And nobody calls me. Nobody does anything. Nobody, they give her medicine and patch her up. That's it. Nobody calls me. I find out later this happens. So now I'm going off again. Why didn't anybody call me? I'm a parent first. Why didn't anybody call me to let me know my daughter got hurt? Why didn't you call me to ask me what kind of medicine you could give my daughter? I said, I'm sure other students had medical concerns, and throughout a week time, things happen on trips. I'm sure you called their parents. Oh, yeah, I called this is the principal. I called their parents. I'm like, well, why didn't you call me? So now I'm constantly going through battles with these people of them being ridiculous when it comes to the safety of myself, the safety of my child, and I'm a world away from everybody. At the same time, there was a whole series of events that happened with getting a vehicle. I ain't gonna go into that, but it was a hot mess. By December, mind you, I got there in October. By December, remember, it's hiring season from about October till February-ish is where you get the best window of job opportunities in this space. I had to make a decision, and my decision was I'm not going to stay in this place. I've been treated horribly. My daughter has been treated horribly. I'm out. So I made the decision. I got a job in China, but I rode the rest of the year out. And honestly, the one thing that Mozambique taught me was patience and time, because the truth of the matter is, I did like it there. I ended up liking it there. I ended up loving those students and really bonding with them. And I wish the situation was just different, but I wish I would have stayed longer. That's the one school I would probably say I wish I would have done things slightly different, but they did me too dirty from the beginning. And again, I didn't even say, well, in the beginning of 2020 is when my brother passed away. So I'm dealing with grief, which is what this whole thing is about. I'm dealing with grief as all this is happening to me, back to back to back to back to back. Constant grief. I leave there. I go to China. China is a very interesting place, very tech savvy, very beautiful country. There's a lot I can say about China that I won't say right now. I had to leave that place too. That's a story for another day. I left China. I get a job working for the US government, working for the DODEA. And it was fine up until the point this new administration came in. Then it got real racist. It got real racist and real weird. And people were very open. And at that point, I'm trying my best not to break another contract. This is when I really start gaining weight. This is when I really start going into a deep, dark depression. I was very depressed in Japan. And Japan as a place to visit is very nice, right? I'm in the sticks. I'm not in Tokyo. I'm in the countryside, far away from really anything. The biggest thing that's there is the military base. And it was depressing. But I'm fighting to prove to people and myself at that point that I can actually finish a contract. Even when being done wrong by people, I was fighting it. I was like, yes, they're rude, they're disrespectful, they're unkind, they're treating me unfair, they're racist. I'm going through all these battles, but I'm going to stick it through because I said I was going to stick it through so that I can just have proof I can finish at a location. And it damaged me physically, emotionally, and was draining and toxic. Sometimes when things happen that you think are bad is probably the best thing for you. And one thing that happened to me was the government shutdown in October. The government shutdown took me out of that whole thing. The government shutdown took me out financially because I came from overseas already. I never got all the full benefits that people typically get when they get these government jobs, because I was not hired from the United States. I was hired from China. So they treat you as a local hire, if you will, which means that you don't get housing. There's certain benefits, flight benefits, all those, you don't get it. So essentially I had to pay for my own rent. I had to pay everything. And it's not cheap. It's not as cheap as you would think. And also what happens is when realtors both realtors and other entities that have to do with housing in Japan, when they know you work for the military base, they're going to jack the price up. They're going to charge you American prices for houses that should not be that much. And that's essentially what happened to me. So not only did it happen to me where I'm being overpriced for housing, I'm also not getting the money to pay for said overpriced housing from the government. So I'm paying out of pocket essentially. So all the money that usually you could save and all that stuff that is like a benefit, I didn't get any of that. So I'm living paycheck to paycheck at this point. I'm saving $200. And if anything happened, I don't have no money. That was the situation for me. Okay. And dealing with toxic racism and all kinds of stuff under this new administration. It was bad that I had to leave and I lost my whole house. I had shipped my whole house from America there. I lost everything leaving that place. Because what happened was when the government shutdown happened, the owner of the house calls me and he says, I don't believe that you're going to be able to pay the rent. So you got to be out in 1 week. I tried to communicate with my boss. He didn't have no time for me. So I literally had to make some very quick decisions. I even tried to get the government to help me and assist me through all of this, and they did not. So I made the decision to leave. I had to leave Japan. When I left Japan, a series of events took me to Kuwait. Kuwait was very weird. The kids were not well behaved, spoiled, rich kids. It is what it is. And while all that was going on, even before I got the Kuwait job, I had already been in talks with this school in Mali. So the truth of the matter is I was supposed to be in Mali next school year in August, but a series of events happened, which allowed me to be able to work here this school year and then possibly have my contract extended for the next school year. So That is how I got to Mali. That is how all these series of events have taken place since 2019 till now. Everything before that, trauma, but that's a different level of trauma. This is like brand new trauma. I mark it from the day, around the time that I was in Saudi Arabia till now. So I've been going through a lot. I've literally been going through so much, and it has shown in so many different parts of me. And over the years, I wrote myself a little note here. I was writing about the fight or flight or freeze. And I just learned of a new one called FOND, I guess, which would be the equivalent of quiet quitting. And I feel like even though some people say like it's a cycle, I didn't go in an actual like certain order, but I learned very on in my career that if I can't fight you, I'm probably going to just freeze. But then I got tired of freezing and being disrespected. So I moved from freezing to flight. And I stayed in flight mode for a long time. I was just like, I guess I'm just going to have to get out of here because I can't fight you. And if I freeze, I'm going to feel disrespected. So let me just go because that's the best course of action. But by the time I got to Japan, I was in fawn mode. I was like, let me just quiet quit. I have to ignore the drama. I have to ignore the disrespect. I have to ignore the racism. I did my best to do that while in Japan. And it took a physical toll on me, both with my mental health, my physical health. And I didn't have anybody really there to talk to about any of these things. Throughout the years, I dabbled in counseling and stuff like that as well. And I've had some wonderful counseling services and things like that. But it's hard to keep up with the same counselor when you're switching jobs and then they don't take your coverage and all the things. So the last few years, I've kind of had to do things to help and support myself, which is always, it's not always the healthiest thing. So what am I doing to heal? That's the part we're at now. Some of the things that I'm doing to heal is to really be focused on my dietary health, because that is the thing. I'm an emotional eater. And my diet has been the thing that has caused the most physical and visual damage to myself. So one way that I've determined over the course of years of like going in and out of veganism is to basically do that so that I can like manage my health a little bit better. And I love, especially being on the continent, experiencing a vegan lifestyle. I noticed the first time that it worked when I lived in Sierra Leone. I did a lot of vegan eating and it helped so much. I lost a lot of weight then. And as you can see from some of my previous pictures in my previous videos, my face is getting slimmer, it's clearing up. Moving from all these different places has done damage to my skin, and I'm like finally clearing it up every day, some of my dark spots and stuff like that. I'm also kind of working out. Y'all, I be sweating anyway. I've always been a sweater and I sweat under my eyes and I don't like it. So I don't really like to do too much working out. I'm trying to get better. I'm big on walking. I'm a walking person, speed walk. Like that's my jam. The problem is the temperatures here, your girl ain't walking nowhere. It's too hot. And mind you, I'm from Florida, but we don't have dry, burning, scalding heat like here. It's so dry and I just can't do it. It's too hot. So I'm trying to figure out different modes of working out. I've kind of gotten more into it over over time of like doing some minor lifting. Y'all, I try my best. I try my best. It's been a lot, but working out is not my favorite thing to do. Another thing I'm doing to heal is, of course, vlogging. You guys have been seeing me vlog and seeing me experience Bamako, whether it's the good, bad, or ugly. And I personally have been loving it. Of course, that one situation and circumstance that happened that one day with that one guy, it is what it is. But generally speaking, I've been having such a good time and expressing myself and just finding myself through talking and vlogging. In fact, we've been talking for 50 minutes now, and your girl didn't think she was going to do this good. I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to say to these people today, but I am talking and expressing myself so much more, especially after years of being shut down, not just by other people, but even by myself. Because again, my experience in Japan in particular, I in order to survive that, I had to start being quiet. There was no other way, because the second I opened my mouth about something, I was going to go off on everybody there and their mama and their grandma and not care. I had to be quiet there, but it really, really took a toll on me. So this vlogging has really helped me express myself and kind of get things out and be creative. Just be creative. I haven't been this creative in a long time, because everything that I've been doing has been very much about the job or about movement and other people's projects. So I've been able to really focus in on myself. Another thing that I've been doing is passion projects. Passion projects in general. I know you guys saw me make ice cream. Well, you didn't see me physically make the ice cream, but I made a like cinnamon Biscoff plantain ice cream. And I don't really tell too many people this, but I have a secret passion of making ice cream. The story goes, I had a grandfather. My grandfather used to take us on his farm, and then he used to give us ice cream as a treat, ice cream floats in particular. And I grew up eating ice cream as a treat. It was a normal staple in my family. So from that staple of having ice cream, I've developed a love for ice cream. Like, one of the things I like to do in different countries is go to local ice cream parlors and then taste their specialty flavors. My favorite creamery, by the way, is a place in New Orleans, and I don't know if they still exist, and I haven't been there in many years, but it's called Creole Creamery. If you ever go to Creole Creamery, my favorite ice cream from them is the what is that purple flower called, y'all? I be having brain farts. It's honey purple flower. Y'all gotta help me. It's only one y'all in here right now. There was more people that probably could have helped me. Dang, if I get it, I'll tell you in a second. But lavender. Honey lavender ice cream. They have some amazing honey lavender ice cream, or at least they did then. My favorite. I've also been to Key West and had like key lime pie flavored ice cream, and I've been to Japan and had like wasabi and all kinds of different really funky flavors. And one of my goals this year is to take an ice cream making course, because I want to dabble in learning how to really make ice cream, because your girl is going to transition out of being an educator. Don't know when, don't know how, but she will, because I cannot foresee myself doing this and retiring from it. So I am working on building up some skill sets that are outside of being an educator, so that I can just do something else that I love and I have a passion for. So that's one thing. Another thing that I've been working on is designing African clothing, but that's like retro, like circa 1940s, 1950s, because I love that era of clothing and I would love to see it. Don't be stealing all my ideas, y'all, but I would love to see those cuts on those prints. So that is, thank you. Yes, lavender, because I couldn't think of it, y'all. Sometimes my brain just be going. But I would love to start working on making some outfits, because back in the day I used to love like the girls who would dress up in certain eras and that was like their thing. I never got to do it, but I really would like to really get into it. And then the spin on it is the African prints, the African inspiration on that like 1950s 1940s pinup look. That is my like goal, to make stuff that looks like that. So if I see it out there, I'm gonna say you got it from me, because I ain't seen it. Anyway, so those are some of the things that I've been doing. I do want to give an opportunity for people to ask me questions. When I say people, there's one person in here, so you can ask me anything you like before I go, because I'm only staying on for a few more minutes. So now's your chance. Ask away. By the way, since leaving Japan, I've lost over 35 pounds since leaving Japan. I am super proud of myself because the weight that I'm at right now, I have not been at in a long time. I still got a long ways to go, but I have not been there in a long time. You said the 70s. What about the 70s? Tell me about the 70s. But yeah, I have not been at this weight in a long time. And this is my old fat weight. So all things considered, I still have a long way to go. I'm gonna stay vegan. I thought I was gonna transition into something else and do maybe keto or something, but why fix something that's not broken? So I'm gonna continue this as long as I can because it has been working for me. I feel better. My skin is getting a lot clearer. My emotional state is getting a lot clearer, especially in such a hard and difficult circumstance that's surrounding me. I feel like I need my head to be clearer and not as foggy and stuff like that. Thank you so much. She says, just keep up the good work. I really appreciate that. I'm really trying. I'm really trying my best because life has been hard and it's not easy to deal with grief and racism and toxicity and all the things. It's hard to do that. It's really hard to do that. But anywho, anyhow, if there are no questions, your girl's gonna end now because that was everything I wanted to talk about. If there are no questions, I'm gonna say this was my first live. I thank everybody that came in and out to see and visit me while you were here. Thank you to everybody that is checking this out on the back end. I hope you guys kind of have a better understanding of where I came from around 2019 till now and how it has been a crazy situation that I'm trying to work through. But if there are no more questions, I am going to go ahead and jump off. I do want to dedicate my very first show to my brother who passed away back in 2020, a trail. I love you and I thank you. And this was for you. Till next time, Bisou. I think that's how you say it. Good night, y'all. I don't even know how to end this thing. I forgot. Oh, I found it. Don't laugh at me. Good night.